First and foremost, before we start, I just want to thank our fans for traveling out there. I know it was a long drive, but it was really exciting to see a lot of orange in the stands. So, without further ado, I'll take any easy questions.
Big difference in the opponent this week, a really run-heavy offense. How does that affect you guys, your game planning, and the week ahead of practice?
It don't really affect us. I mean, we're geared for that, man. Like I love teams who go out there and do what they're supposed to do, and they want to play hard-nosed football and run the ball. Man, I love that. I think that's how we operate as well, and so I'm looking forward to this one. I think they're a really good opponent. Um, Obviously, they've I know they had a tough loss this past week, but man, it's a really good team. Use a 2 quarterback system, so I mean that in itself that's probably the hardest thing to prepare for because you don't know which one is going to be in. So, but obviously they're going to run the football, and it's no secret they're going to run the ball, and we just got to do what we can to stop it.
Things are different, but it felt similar to the style that you played against Kansas, against South Carolina, maybe Michigan State last year. What's the key to executing that against a high-level quarterback and keeping everything in front and making them go for a long drive?
I told you guys this, and I'm going to continue to say it, and I say this with a smile on my face, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's about keeping your opponent out of the end zone, right? I know we did some things to hurt ourselves in terms of the coverage aspect where we blew some things, but I got to do a better job at helping some of our players on the back end. I think we played like 8 or 9 DBs. We've never done that. Like never, you know what I mean? And so for some of those guys to get in the game and, help us out, especially the latter part of the game, I have to do a better job in putting them in some advantageous calls to help them down the stretch. But all I care about is points, man. I want to eliminate points. Every week, every game plan is going to be a tad bit different, just in terms of, just trying to cause some chaos for certain guys in terms of our scheme weekly. And, we try to find a hole in every offense that we feel like we can take advantage of. And at the end of the day, like we always talk about causing mayhem and just trying to create takeaways. And I felt like we just did that on a consistent level. And I mean, in a boxing match, at least a really good one, a lot of those go to the later rounds. And I think you just kind of set them up. If you're a really good boxer, you set them up early on for the blow in the later rounds. And I just think we just got to consistently be able to try to identify those things in our opponent, especially as games get later, of how we can take advantage of those knockout punches.
I want to ask about Malachi Hood, especially with Rosiak not finishing the game. What has he shown you to keep earning these opportunities? And he just seems a little different at linebacker maybe than what you have. How's that impact you?
Yeah, just the level of consistency, man. I think I credit to Archie McDaniel and Matt Ellerbrock. I mean, just getting them prepared, right? Mal is quiet. Mal is like super laser beam focused, but Mal knows what he's doing. He lined up at a couple of positions, and I mean, his athleticism, the way he runs and tackles. I mean, he was one of our MVPs. He had a really good game. For him to go out there and just execute the game plan, right? And I know it wasn't always perfect for any of those guys, but for him to go out there and get the job done, right? Especially after Rosie got banged up, and even when Rosie was in there, it was really good to see. And you kind of saw that at the end of last year, from the Northwestern game to the bowl game, he just progressively got better. And that's the kind of program we have, right? Like, we're a developmental program, and our guys, when you're in our system long enough, right, the dream and hope is that you consistently get better, right? And when it shows up, especially when you can flash as a younger player, right, and then just continue to bring that along, we think moving forward, Mal's going to be a key player for us in this defense.
To continue the boxing metaphor a little bit, what do you feel like maybe you've taught that leads to 2 strip sacks and then Matt Bailey also punching one out?
We talk about it. We rep it in practice. I mean, Coach B had a cut-up the night before the game to show the guys. I mean, they were hearing it from our head coach, and they had heard it from the defensive coordinator all week, right? So it was obviously a point of emphasis. At the end of the day, when you talk about taking the ball away, right, it can't just be lip service. Like you have to, like you see our guys like literally punching at the football. Well, we practice that every day, right? Sometimes a couple times a week, but like that's something, whether they get it in Indy or we get it in a circuit, like that is something that we work on religiously. Like that's just a part of our DNA and who we are. And if we're going to be a team that has the ability to give our offense more possessions, like you have to be able to take the ball away, man. And I mean, no matter how games go, if you can take the ball away, you got a great chance and great opportunity to win games when you can do that at a high clip.
I know Jim was going to play a lot of defensive linemen, especially in those like 90-degree games. But what did you think you were getting with Eli Conan when you brought him in, and what have you gotten out of him in 2 weeks?
Well, his name is the Big Show first and foremost. We call him the Big Show. But no, Eli. I mean, he brings length, right? I mean, I think his length, and he's the tallest defensive lineman in the room, right? Being able to get his hands up, he's just progressively gotten better, right, from fall camp throughout these first two games. But we're just trying to keep guys fresh. Obviously, it was a hot one, and I mean, all of this is trying to prepare for. I mean, we got a pretty long stretch here, right, before we talk about having a bye week. And so if we can just keep guys fresh, keep their snap counts on the lower end, I think it's just going to help us as we just kind of progress throughout this season. Because like I tell all defensive backs this, right, especially as we go into the season, like somebody's going to be called into duty, when you're probably least expecting it. And it could happen game 2, it could happen game 5, it could happen game 8, right? You just got to be prepared for it. And I think that Coach Jameson does a really, really good job with those D-line, keeping them fresh, right? Because you talk about a coverage, I mean, the pass rush is fresh. You got a chance to hit the quarterback.
When you have guys who make the most of their kind of limited opportunities, like Eli, like Tanner Heckel in the back end, do you look at that and think, hey, maybe this guy or that guy needs a few more snaps?
No, absolutely. I mean, this profession is about trust. Our mantra is tough, smart, dependable. And dependability, right? It coincides with trust. And so when a player can come in and he flashes and he does some good things for you young in his career, you're like, this guy can help us, And so you just try to find situations where you can continue to rotate them in, put them in, right, to just slowly watch them mature, and be the player that they're capable of being. But, anytime you can have depth at those positions, especially up front and on the back end, man, you help yourself out immensely. And who is Tanner Heckel? Who is that?
Lines with Tanner. Why is Starr maybe a better fit for him than, I know you experimented with him outside in the spring, and then to do that you'd obviously move Xavier, and I guess is there preference for Xavier inside, outside, or how do you kind of make that call?
No, I truly believe Tanner can play inside and outside. It was just strictly based off of, like just some of our defensive calls required a Starr. He may not have to think as much. And so, not to say that Tanner's like extremely intelligent, but for a young player who hadn't played a lot of snaps, right, you try to put him in that position where he doesn't have to think as much. And funny enough, right, we're on a sideline and we had some guys banged up, and Coach B just kind of threw it out there. And I'm like, Coach, that's a really good thought. Like he suggested, because we talked about before Tanner went out there and got an interception, we had talked about, okay, let's move him outside the corner, keep X inside, and Coach like, well. Like because of some of our calls, don't you think it'd be probably a decent idea just to move him inside his legs? I'm like, that's a really good thought. Yeah, Coach, that's a great thought. Let's do that. And I talked to Coach Parker, so we did it, and lo and behold, he goes out there and get an interception. And so like we literally were going to have him start outside and then move inside. And Coach just like he literally suggested it. It was a suggestion he had. I'm like, that's a brilliant idea because he's during fall camp and spring ball. I mean, we had multiple. I mean, Juice Clark went inside and outside because we what I didn't want to have is, like at Minnesota when we played Minnesota last year, Xavier Scott went out and I got a multitude of guys there, and so we just try to cross train some guys. We know Xavier can play outside, and we just bumped him out and slide Tanner inside, and lo and behold, the Star was born.
What stood out? I mean, I know you've been high on him for a while, but what stood out about that play, the 2 plays he made, and what's that do for him moving forward?
I mean, he's. Even before that, right, the guy is just – his consistency level is unbelievable, right? Like, when you talk about a young man that cat shows up with a smile on his face daily. Like, he has not a care in life. Like, he loves ball. He loves this building. And when you see him walk into the building, he's always smiling. It's like somebody gave him his favorite candy bar every day he walks to the – I mean, that dude if he frowning, something wrong, and to just see him – he's always like, what can I do best for the team? I mean, he's been a special teams like savage from last year to this year. And for him to get his opportunity, not knowing when it was going to come, I mean, obviously play 8-man football, right? And so like he just has the mentality like nothing's. I mean, you would have thought that when I told him he was going in the game, you would have thought that he was in high school. I mean, he was just like, I got you, coach. Like, didn't have no emotion about it. Like, wasn't happy, wasn't sad. Like, I got you, coach. And went out there and executed his job. And the result of him executing it was, I mean, he was just doing what he's supposed to do. And because of that, he found himself in a position where he went out there and made a play. I mean, he made the same play in fall camp. That same exact play on the interception, he made that same exact play in fall camp, right? And obviously you guys hear me talk about him constantly just because we see things as coaches where like, hey, man, he's pretty good. But to see him retrace, the most impressive to see him retrace on a quarterback like that, right? I had talked to him during the course of the week about one thing we need to improve on is him just getting off of blocks. You know, to see him retrace and come back on, like that on a quarterback was, my goodness, that was, you talking about getting the coach excited about something, like to see that, like, I mean, it's only up from here for that young man because I believe he has an opportunity, just like Xavier Scott, Matt Bailey, Gabe Akis, right, Dylan Rosiak. I think that cat got a chance to be really, really special in this defense.
This is maybe more big picture just in general, but like as a coordinator, when an offense has multiple players at every position where like they're legit options, what kind of a challenge is that you made the game plan against?
I mean, I think you talking about when they got like every position they got dudes at it. Yeah, you know, it presents a tremendous challenge because I think just as a coach in general, you try to find out what team strengths are and you just try to minimize those for them, right? Like we knew Duke loved explosive plays, you know, and they wanted to live off the explosive and they wanted to run tempo and, you know, I knew I couldn't go out there and play man-to-man all game, not because of their wide receivers, just from we were going into 95-degree weather. Right, we were on the road traveling, so you can't bring all those guys that you normally have at a home game, right? I was thinking about like just the course of the game. You know, when you talk about, I wasn't trying to win the fight in the first round, right? I was strategically trying to make sure I was setting us up for that whole game, you know. And when our opportunity came to take advantage of those, I wanted to try to do that. But my goal and purpose to going into a game like that, man, because they had really good players all over the board. I mean, the quarterback was just one of many, right? And the goal was just to try to limit him as much as we could. I know in some of the instances we didn't help ourselves, right? We blew a couple of coverages, which was very, very, very unlike us, but we'll make sure we get those adjusted and obviously move on to the next opponent. But I mean, like any team you go against, right? Like it's not about the call, it's about the execution of the call and the players you have.
Off a list of players there. X, Matt, Tanner, Gabe, Malachi, we talked about before, that kind of evals by you guys. And what's key to both that evaluation and the development for you guys as a program? Because clearly it's showing up on your defense.
We're pretty good at it, man. I would tip my hat to Coach, man. He always talks about like you know, when we're trying to identify a player, the key three is he tough, smart, and dependable. Like you don't have to be a 4-3 to play football at college, to play football on this team, to play football in the NFL, right? But if you're tough, right, you're tough enough to get the job done. You're mentally and physically tough, right? You're smart. You understand formation recognition. You understand the game as a whole. And if you're dependable, if we can trust you and help put you in the right position, and you can use your God-given ability, right? Like, and then you take a guy like Gabe, who is athletically gifted, right, physically gifted. You know, like you can get the best out of him. You know, I know people may not see Tanner or coming out of high school, they may not have saw him as athletically gifted, but I'm looking at him like, this cat's athletically gifted. He's just in Kansas. You know what I mean? And so I think, I don't know, we just do a really, really good job at looking at a young man's skill set and saying, like, how can we help develop that? You know, and Coach has done it from his time when he was obviously at Wisconsin or Arkansas, and now he's doing it here. Like that's just Coach's DNA, man. Like just finding the right guys that fit us and developing them from there. Like no matter where they're from, right? You go to Kansas and find Tanner. Like how do you find Tanner Heckel in Kansas? Well, be honest with you, Adam Kleffner actually brought him to me. Yeah, Clef brought him to me. I'm like, who is this cat? Because I was watching a lot of safeties. I'm like, who is this dude? And what really intrigues me about a recruit, especially a DB, is when I watch him play basketball. Like, you want the key to my heart, the strings of my heart? Let me see a DB play basketball. And I watched him play basketball, and I watched him play basketball live. I didn't even see him play football in person. I watched him play basketball. And I was sold. After the first game, I was sold. He had like 20 and had like 3 or 4 dunks. I mean, just the way his lateral movement, his explosion going to the rack. I mean, he went up for a dunk in the game, and it was some other coaches there. And I'm like, I hope they didn't see what I just saw, because I saw him move, and I knew he was like a 2-footed jumper, and he went to the hole, and he rose up and dunked the ball, and I'm like, I thought he was from Florida, to be honest with you, when I saw him do that, right? It was really, really, really impressive. But, you know, when you see those kind of guys, especially basketball players, right, or football guys who play basketball, Spoon is another example of that. But when you watch them on the court and they explode and they move lateral, like, that's typically a pretty good indication. I think they can play DB at a high clip, you know.
Anything else for Coach Henry? All right.
Appreciate you guys.